Communication research. Non-probability and probability sampling. Introduction. Hello everyone. Welcome to your lecture on non-probability and probability sampling. This lecture is a part of your paper on communication research. In this lecture, you will learn about process of sampling and its types, which are essential to any research in social sciences. Sampling in social research had developed hand in hand with political polling. One must ask, what is sampling? Sampling is the method of selecting a representative subset of the population. Sampling makes research more accurate and economical and also determines the generalizability of research findings. In simple words, the process of choosing a sample of the population to study is called sampling. Sampling is done as it is practically impossible to cover the entire population in a large social research. One of the most asked questions is what is the best sample, 100, 300, 500, 1000 or what? Seriously speaking, numbers are not as important as the representation of the sample. A sample should be the representative of the whole population. A sample of 10,000 could be considered a bad sample if it's not representative of the whole population. On the other side, a sample of 100 may be considered a good sample if it's the representative of the whole population. The sample should represent the population in all the respects. Representativeness is the quality of a sample having the same distribution of characteristics as the population from which it was selected. So, the question here is how to draw a sample. A researcher can choose a sample drawn through a sampling scheme. These are generated through various sampling techniques. There are mainly two types of sampling techniques: probability sampling and non-probability sampling. Let us begin with the first type of sampling technique, probability sampling. In this technique, each sample has an equal probability of being chosen. We can say a probability sample is one in which each element of the population has a known non-zero probability of selection. For example, there are 500 students in your college. You adopt a method in which all the 500 students of your college have an equal chance to be the participants in your study. This is called probability sampling. In other words, to choose a sample, probability sampling uses random sampling techniques. A large-scale survey uses probability sampling methods. Some probability sampling methods are as follows. Simple random sampling, stratified random sampling, systematic random sampling, cluster sampling, multi-stage systematic sampling. Representativeness is enhanced by probability sampling and provides for generalizability, that is, extending the inferences to the larger population. Let us discuss the different types of probability sampling techniques in detail. 1. Simple random sampling. Simple random sampling is a complete random method of selecting a sample in which each element and each combination of elements in the population have an equal probability of being selected as a part of the sample. It is one of the simplest form of random sampling and a fair way to select a sample. Simple random sampling is the best known as probability sampling. Even though it may not be considered an ideal method for choosing the sample, still results obtained through this method has high external validity or generalizability as compared to some other method of sample selection. Simple random sampling can be done by using a number of techniques such as tossing a coin, throwing a dice, lottery method, blindfolded method. Random sampling can be conducted in two ways, with and without replacement. In case a certain element is selected and has the chance to be selected again after the required variables are measured, it is called sampling with replacement. Whereas in random sampling without replacement method, an element once obtained can't be selected again. Random sampling requires a sampling frame, that is, a list of all the elements in the population. For example, let's assume that you have to study the newspaper reading habits of students of your college. The college has maintained a computerized record of all the students currently enrolled, which is the sampling frame. Now, suppose you have to draw a sample of 100 students from this enrollment list. You have several options to draw the sample. You will write the names of all the 500 students of your university on the tickets and put those tickets in a hat. Then you will close your eyes and pick one ticket. Then you will shake the hat again and pick another ticket. You will repeat the method till you select the sample. This is simple random sampling. 2. Systematic random sampling. Systematic sampling is an improvement over the simple random sampling. This method requires the complete information about the population. In this sampling method, we select one unit from the sampling frame and then calculations to draw the following units are done on the basis of the interval size. Basically, you choose every nth participant from a complete list. Even though each element has an equal probability of selection, but unlike as in simple random sampling, a combination of elements has different probabilities in systematic random sampling. For example, you choose every fifth student roll number wise in your class. Or say your college has 500 students and you have decided to draw a sample of 50. The interval size is calculated by dividing the total population by the sample size. Therefore, in this case, it is 500 divided by 50, that is 10. We can select a random number from 1 to 10. Suppose we have selected 7. Start with the 7th unit in the list and keep on adding 10 to every new number to get all the elements. Following the procedure, you will get a sequence of 7, 17, 27, 37 and so on. In other words, the population must be listed in a random order and every element must be chosen from the sequence framed as above. One of the most widely used random sampling methods, systematic random sampling and simple random sampling, have some error rate if the list of population is in random order. 3. Stratified sampling. Stratified sampling is an improvement over systematic sampling. In this method, the population elements are divided into strata on the basis of some characteristics. Then, from each of these smaller homogeneous groups, the researchers draw a sample at random, a predetermined number of units. Stratified random sampling can be of two types. 1. Proportionate stratified sampling, and 2. Disproportionate stratified random sampling. When the size of the sample is proportionate to the size of the unit, it is called proportionate stratified sampling. When the size of the sample is not proportionate to the size of the unit, it is called disproportionate random sampling. Disproportionate stratified sampling depends upon considerations involving personal judgment and convenience. For example, you can divide the administration of your college in two subgroups, teaching and non-teaching staff. To ensure adequate representation of each stratum or subgroup, the sample is then drawn from each stratum randomly or systematically. Strata are divided keeping in mind that there must be heterogeneity between the strata and the homogeneity within each stratum to increase the accuracy of the result. Even though this method of sampling enables the researcher to get more detailed information about the subgroups of the population, there are concerns regarding the difficulties to divide the population into strata in some cases. 4. Cluster sampling. Cluster sampling is one of the efficient methods of random sampling in which the population is first divided into clusters and then a sample is selected from the clusters randomly. Unlike the previous technique, in pure cluster sampling, the whole cluster is sampled. In contrary to stratified sampling, there should be heterogeneity within the clusters and homogeneity between the clusters. The method is mostly feasible in case of diverse population spread over different areas. This is an economical method and saves the time of researcher. Suppose you want to study the average woman's height in India. It is not possible to get a list of everyone. In such a case, you will divide the areas into clusters and draw a sample randomly from those clusters. 5. Multi-state sampling. To draw the sample, this method actually uses a combination of various techniques. In this method, the population is divided into groups at various levels. A group within a group within a group and so on. The sample is finally drawn from the smallest group among all the groups. Suppose you want to study the coverage of the Indian Express newspaper on gender issues for 10 years from 2000 to 2010. You may break the period giving a 5-year gap and select years 2000, 2005, 2010 for the study. Then, you may further select 3 months, for example, January, June and December of the aforementioned years of the study. You may further reduce the number of issues to be studied and select only the first 2 weeks of all 3 months of the selected years. You may follow this sequence and select 63 issues of the newspaper for the study as your sample at the end of the process. Non-probability sampling. Now, let us move to the second type of sampling technique, non-probability sampling. Unlike probability sampling method, non-probability sampling technique uses non-randomized methods to draw the sample. Non-probability sampling method mostly involves judgment. Instead of randomization, participants are selected because they are easy to access. For example, your classmates and friends have a better chance to be a part of your sample, even though in certain cases, non-probability sampling is a useful and convenient, but it is an inappropriate and only method available in certain cases. One of the major shortcomings of the non-probability sampling is that the findings established through this method lack generalizability. The findings obtained through this method apply mostly to the group studied. It may be wrong to extend these findings beyond that particular sample. Through the non-probability method, we can study particular phenomena with a potential to generate valuable insights. It is used to study existing theoretical insights or developing new ones. This method of sampling is considered less expensive, less complicated, and easy to apply as compared to its counterpart. Some non-probability methods of sampling are as follows. Convenience sampling, purposive sampling, quota sampling, snowball sampling. Let us discuss each of these in detail. 1. Convenience sampling. In this type of sampling, researchers prefer participants as per their own convenience. The researcher selects the closest live persons as respondents, that is, subjects who are readily accessible or available to the researcher are selected. For example, you will choose your classmates and friends for the study as per your convenience. In other words, in this type of non-probability sampling method, whoever meets the researcher qualifies to be a part of your sample. For example, the people in the streets, to get the questionnaire filled, you take the copies of your questionnaire and stand in the corner of a street. You will give the copies of the questionnaire to people passing by you. The ease and frugality of such a method explains its popularity, but it seldom produces data of any general value. It may be useful for pre-testing a questionnaire, but such a sampling method should not be used for a study purportedly describing the population as a whole. Two, purposive sampling. In this type of sampling, the researcher chooses the participants as per his/her own judgment. keeping back in mind the purpose of the study. It uses the judgment of an expert in selecting cases, or it selects cases with a specific purpose in mind. This type of sampling is used in exploratory research or in field research. With purposive sampling, the researcher hardly knows whether the cases selected do represent the population or not. As mostly sampling problem is being addressed with a specific plan in mind, most of the sampling methods may be considered purposive in nature. Basically, it is a type of non-probability sampling in which the units to be observed are selected on the basis of researcher's judgment, about which one will be the most useful or representative. Purposive sampling is somewhat less costly, more readily accessible, more convenient, and select only those individuals that are relevant to research design. More emphasis is placed on the ability of the researcher to assess the elements of the population. For example, for studying corrupt activities in the sports field, a sample of administrators, coaches, and players may be selected for the study. They qualify to be part of purposive sampling as they can more reasonably be expected to represent the correct attitude than other class of people. Three. Quota sampling. To understand this type of sampling, all we have to do is to understand the literal meaning of quota. In this sampling method, we pre-plan the number of participants in specified categories. For example, 100 literates and 100 illiterates. You select your sample according to a fixed quota. This type of sampling method may be further divided into 1. Uncontrolled quota sampling and 2. Controlled quota sampling. In uncontrolled quota sampling, the researcher selects the sample as per her own convenience. On the other side, some restrictions are imposed to limit researchers' choice in controlled quota sampling. This type of sampling is similar to stratified sampling. Make sure that the sample, however, unlike the stratified sampling, the researcher in quota sampling method selects the subjects representing each group or stratum of the population on the basis of availability. 4. Snowball sampling. Also called chain referral sampling and accidental sampling, in this method, the sample is actually collected in various stages. Snowball sampling is a non-probability sampling method which is sociometric in nature. This method is appropriate when the members of a special population are difficult to locate. For example, homeless people, migrant workers, etc. It begins by the collection of data from one or more contacts, usually known to the person collecting the data. At the end of the data collection process, that is through questionnaire, survey, or interview, the data collector asks the respondent to provide contact information of other potential respondents. These potential respondents are contacted, interviewed, and further asked to provide more contacts. This process goes on till the purpose of the researcher is achieved. To sum up non-probability sampling methods in the words of Daniel 2012, in a sense, Quota sampling combines availability sampling and purposive sampling by targeting specific numbers of elements that have specific characteristics. Snowball sampling is most useful when there are very few methods to secure a list of population, or when the population is unknowable. Conclusion. I hope at the end of this lecture you are well acquainted with the importance of sampling and the various sampling techniques. I hope this lecture has been helpful to address various problems and confusions prevailing among the young researchers about different types of sampling. For more details, read the module on this lecture carefully and attempt the questions in the end. Thank you.